Case scenario. Maria is a 28-year-old female employee in a call center. Her male supervisor frequently makes comments about her appearance, tells sexual jokes during team meetings, and has asked her out on multiple dates. Despite her repeated refusals, Maria feels anxious, dreads going to work, and has started experiencing sleep difficulties. The question is, which laws are potentially violated in this scenario? One of the potentially violated law is the Republic Act number 11313, known as the Cite Spaces Act or Bawal Bastos Law. It is a Philippine law enacted on April 17, 2019. It protects all persons from gender-based sexual harassment in public spaces, workplaces, and educational institutions, and online platforms regardless of sexual orientation or gender identity. Under Article 4, Section 16, Part A, tinatalakay ang hindi gustong pambabastos o paghingi ng malisyosong pabor sa pamamagitan ng salita, gawa, o online na nagdudulot ng masama sa pag-aaral, trabaho, o performance ng isang tao. Tumutukoy naman ang Section 16, Part B sa pambabastos o malisyosong kilos na nakakabawas sa dangal ng biktima. Ito ay unreasonable, unwelcome, at offensive sa nakatanggap nito, maging ito man ay sa salita, sa gawa, o sa pamamagitan ng teknolohiya. Saklaw naman ng Part C, ang mga kilos na hindi ginusto at patuloy na nangyayari na nagdudulot ng pakiramdam na pinag-iinitan, tinatakot o pinapahiya ang isang tao sa kanyang paligid.
Lalabag sa sitwasyon ni Maria ang provision ng Safe Spaces Act Section 16, Part A dahil ang kanyang supervisor ay paulit-ulit na gumagawa ng mga hindi gustong aksyon at biro na may kinalaman sa sex tulad ng pagpuna sa kanyang hitsura, pagbibitaw ng mga sexual jokes sa meeting at pilit na pag-anyaya sa kanya na makipag-date kahit tumanggi na ito na nagdulot ng matinding anxiety at nakasira sa kanyang mental health at kakayahang magtrabaho ng maayos. Lalabag ang Section 16, Part B dahil ang mga bastos na biro ng supervisor sa team meeting, pagpuna sa kanyang hitsura at pilit na pag-anyaya sa kanya na makipag-date ay mga salita at kilos na hindi niya ginusto o unwelcome, unreasonable, at offensive na direktang nakakaapekto sa kanyang dangal bilang empleyado. Ang patuloy na pag-anyaya ng supervisor kay Maria na makipag-date at ang pagbibitaw nito ng mga bastos na biro sa harap ng kanyang mga kasamahan sa trabaho ay lumikha ng isang hindi komportableng kapaligiran o hostile environment dahilan upang magkaroon siya ng matinding takot at anxiety sa tuwing papasok sa opisina. Ang pangyayaring ito ay malinaw na paglabag sa Safe Spaces Act or Bawal Bastos Law. Sa sitwasyon ni Maria, ang karahasan ay nangyayari sa kanyang kinabibilangang workplace.
Ngunit, bukod sa Safe Spaces Act, alam mo ba na meron pang ibang batas ang ipinasa na maaaring magamit ni Maria? At ito ang Anti-Sexual Harassment Act. Ito ay kilala rin bilang Republic Act of 7877. An act declaring sexual harassment unlawful in the employment, education, or training environment and for other purposes. Kumpara sa Safe Spaces Act, mas binibigyang pansin dito ang karasang nangyayari sa workplace o educational setting. So, under Section 3, Paragraph A, na para sa employment environment, subparagraph 3, nangyayari ang sexual harassment kung saan ang mga pambabastos, biro o pag-aaya ay nagdudulot ng nakakatakot, nakakagalit, or nakakasakit sa damdaming kapaligiran sa trabaho para sa empleyado.
Sakop ang sitwasyon ni Maria ng provisyong ito dahil ang panghaharas na naranasan niya mula sa taong katrabaho ay mga kilos na lumikha ng isang nakakatakot, nakaka-stress at intimidating, hostile or offensive environment na direktang nagdulot sa kanya ng matinding anxiety, hirap sa pagtulog at takot na pumasok sa opisina.
Based on the situation, Maria can take several legal actions because the harassment she experienced may fall under RA 11313 or the Safe Spaces Act and RA 7877 or the Anti-Sexual Harassment Act. First, Maria can report the incidents to her company's Human Resources Department or management. Since the harassment happened in the workplace and the person involved is her supervisor, the company should properly investigate the complaint and take appropriate action. Second, Maria can file a formal complaint against her supervisor under the applicable provisions of RA 11313 and RA 7877. The repeated comments about her appearance, sexual jokes, and asking her out even after she repeatedly refused can be included as part of her complaint. If the company fails to properly address her complaint, Maria can also seek assistance from the appropriate government authorities, such as DOLE. She can also request measures to protect her from further harassment, especially because the situation is already affecting her well-being and her ability to feel comfortable at work. So overall, Maria can report the harassment internally, file a formal complaint under the applicable laws, seek assistance from the proper authorities, and ask for protection from further harassment. These remedies can help ensure that her complaint is properly addressed and that the harassment does not continue.
As a psychologist, I would first listen to Maria without judging or blaming her. Sometimes, a person who is experiencing harassment needs to feel that someone is willing to listen and take her experience seriously. However, as a psychologist, listening is not enough. I would also assess how the situation is affecting her mental health, especially her anxiety, sleeping difficulties, and ability to function at work. Based on the assessment, I would provide appropriate psychological support and help her develop healthy ways to manage her emotion and cope with the situation. If necessary, I would also refer her to other professionals or appropriate services. Ethically, I would respect her dignity, maintain confidentiality, obtain informed consent, and work within my professional competence. Under the Mental Health Act, clients have right to confidentiality and informed consent. Most importantly, my role is not to decide for Maria, but to support her, protect her well-being, and help her make informed decisions about what she wants to do. Ultimately, a psychologist's role is not only to listen, but to help the person feel heard, supported, and empowered to make informed decisions. And this case also shows us some common themes that appear across different situations involving violations of rights.
Ano nga ba yung mga common themes na napansin natin across the cases? Mayroong three main themes na paulit-ulit natin makikita. First is the abuse of power. Second is the violation of personal boundaries and dignity. And lastly is the psychological impact. First is abuse of power. Makikita natin sa mga ganitong cases, usually mayroong power imbalance between the victim and the person who is causing the harm. For example, sa case ni Maria, yung gumagawa ng inappropriate behavior sa kanya ay yung supervisor niya. So, technically, mas mataas yung posisyon niya sa workplace. Because of that, mas mahirap for Maria na magsalita or gumawa agad ng action. Baka isipin niya na, what if maapektuhan yung trabaho ko? Or what if hindi ako paniwalaan? So, hindi lang siya simpleng situation na may taong nangungulit. There's also an issue of authority and power involved. Second is the violation of personal boundaries and dignity. Everyone has their own boundaries and dapat marunong tayong rumispeto kapag sinabi ng isang tao na uncomfortable siya or ayaw niya. In Maria cases, ilang beses na siyang tumanggi sa supervisor niya pero patuloy pa rin itong nag-aaya sa kanya. Gumagawa rin siya ng sexual jokes and comments about her appearance. So clearly, hindi na nire-respeto yung boundaries ni Maria and we should not simply say na joke lang naman or baka nagpapakita lang siya ng interest because once the behavior is unwanted, especially kapag sinabi na ng person na ayaw niya, it becomes a serious concern. Third is the psychological and emotional impact. Ito yung importante rin kasi minsan kapag naririnig natin yung word na harassment, ang iniisip agad natin is yung legal aspect. Pero we should also have to look at what the experience does to the victim. Sa case ni Maria, we can already see the effect. She feel anxious, ayaw na niyang pumasok sa work and nahihirapan na rin siyang matulog. So, makikita natin na yung harassment doesn't just happen during the specific interaction. It can affect the person's everyday life and mental well-being. Pwedeng maapektuhan yung confidence niya, concentrate niya sa work, yung work performance, and even your sense of safety. And I think that's one of the important things we can learn from these cases. Everyone has the right to feel safe and respected, and when that right is violated, the victim deserves not only legal protection but also understanding and support and proper psychological care.
These laws protect not only our legal rights but also our dignity, safety, and overall well-being. They help prevent harassment and discrimination and abuse by establishing clear standards of behavior and providing legal remedies for victims. In Maria's case, the law recognized that sexual harassment can affect not only her right at work but also her mental health, sense of safety, and ability to perform her job. By providing protection and accountability, this law help create safer and more respectful environment where individual can work and live without fear, humiliation, or discrimination.
Legal Analysis RA 1131 Safe Spaces Act Article 4 Gender-Based Sexual Harassment in the Workplace. Big Workplace Enforcement. Employers must form a committee on decorum and investigation or COLI under 1131 but many companies delay investigation for protect management. Number 1, Section 16, Unwelcome Sexual Advances or Employment Impact. An act or series of acts involving any unwelcome sexual advances, requests, or demand for sexual favors that has or could have a detrimental effect on the condition of an individual's employment. Impact creates severe mental distress like anxiety, sleep loss, dread for work, affecting her working conditions. Number 2, Section 16, Conduct affecting personal dignity. A conduct of sexual nature and other conduct based on sexual affecting the dignity of a person, which is unwelcome, unreasonable, and offensive to the recipient rather than verbal. Number 3, Section 16, Hostile and intimidating environment. A conduct that is unwelcome and pervasive and creates an intimidating hostile or intimidating environment for the recipient. These are the challenges to discuss in this video. First, power imbalance and retaliation. Supervisor control performance reviews, shifts, and promotions. Fear of job loss or career sabotage discourages support. Next is the he said or she said evidence. Verbal comments and unrecorded date requests are hard to prove without witnesses or written evidence like chat or messages. Next, normalized culture. Sexual jokes in meetings are often dismissed as just banter, trivializing harassment and isolating the victim. Legal application, the continuous pressure for dates constitute an unwelcome sexual advance. Under the older law or RA 7877 or the Anti-Sexual Harassment Act of 1995, prosecution often required proving an explicit quid pro quo demand or example, take me or I require or deny. RA 1131.3 expanded this promotion by making unwelcome advances, offensive comments, and hostile work environments punishable without even an explicit exchange of favors. These are the challenges identified in these laws. Challenges identified in these laws. While RA 1131.3 offers robust protection on paper, several real-world structural and social-cultural challenges hinder its effectiveness in cases like Maria. First is the power dynamics and fear of retaliation. The challenge, because the perpetrator is supervisor holding authority over schedules, performance evaluations, and promotions, victim fears subtle career sabotage or losing their jobs if they file a complaint. This explains why victims often internalize the anxiety and dread instead of reporting the agency. Second one is the company culture and delayed body actions. The challenge, the law mandates that employers set up a committee on the follow and investigation of the body to handle complaints. However, many private companies, including high-pressure call centers, lack independent bodies, delay investigation, or handle cases with internal bias and prevent management.
Hi guys, this is Angel. So today I'll be tackling about how psychology training prepares us to help and individuals whose rights have been violated. So first, I want to pinpoint something. Us, as a psychologist in training, we are taught that our role is not to only understand people's thoughts, emotions, and behavior, but rather also to protect their dignity, well-being, and also their rights. In Maria's case, she's experiencing repeated unwanted sexual comments, sexual jokes, and persistent invitations from her supervisor even after she clearly said no. And these behaviors can create a unsafe work environment for Maria and may have a serious impact on her mental health. Our training helps us recognize when a person's rights, dignity, and personal boundaries are being violated. We learn to listen carefully without judgment, understand the client's situation from their perspective, and avoid blaming the person from what have happened. And for Maria's case, we would make it clear that her discomfort is valid and that she is not responsible for her supervisor's inappropriate behavior. And I just want also to tackle about the emotional support. And in psychological training, it also prepares us to assess the emotional and psychological effects of these experiences, just like what Maria experienced. And Maria is already showing signs of distress, such as anxiety, dread of going to work, and difficulty in sleeping. And as a psychologist, we can provide a space where she can express her feelings and process what she had experienced. And we can also help her develop a healthy coping strategies and assess whether she may need an additional support or psychological support. In addition, another important part of our training is respecting the client's autonomy, meaning instead of deciding for Maria for what she can do, we can help her to have an options and make informed decision based on what she feel is safe and appropriate for her. We can also discuss possible resources such as workplace policies, human resources, trusted support system just like her friends, or appropriate legal and professional services if she wants to file a case. But in terms of this, still while respecting her right to choose how she wants to proceed. And lastly, the most important one, our training emphasizes professional ethics, meaning we are expected to maintain confidentiality, respect boundaries, avoid discrimination, and protect the welfare and dignity of the people we serve. If situation involves risk that require action beyond our role or our expertise, we should also know when to consult, document appropriately, and refer the individual to qualified professional or appropriate services. So to sum it all, our training as a psychologist prepare us to do more than just simply listening. It also teaches us to recognize violations, provide psychological support, respect autonomy, protect dignity, and also empowering individuals to make informed choices. And also in Maria's situation, the goal is to help her feel heard, supported, and safe while respecting her rights and choices throughout the process. Because when someone's rights have been violated, psychological care should begin with one important principle, and that is the person deserves to be heard, respected, and treated with dignity.
So in conclusion, you, us, have the absolute right to safety, boundaries, and peace. So step up, speak up, and don't be afraid. Always remember that Republic Act 11313 or the Safe Space Act always has your back. Every gender-based sexual harassment, simpleng pagsipol, unwanted sexual remark, stalking, walang pahintulot na paghawak, cyber harassment sa iba't ibang lugar, public spaces such as transportation, workplaces, school, and online platforms, which you feel that you were threatened, hindi ka nakaportable, at nakaka-apekto na ito sa iyong mental health at sa state ng iyong well-being. Under this law, you are protected and those acts are legally punishable. Remember, speaking or reporting is not a form of weakness. It is the first step to help yourself, save yourself from further damage it may cause to you physically, mentally, and emotionally. I know it takes immense amount of courage to speak up and fight, but practicing and knowing your right is a strength that no one can ever take away from you. Your voice matters and you are not alone.